And we are live with episode 4 of the RetroSlot podcast. JSniperton, how you been? And we are live
good. How are
with
you?
episode 4 of the RetroSlot podcast.
You were just playing a
Jay
game.
Sniperton, how you been? And
I'm
we are
sorry.
live
Good, how
with
are you?
episode 4 of the
playing.
RetroSlot podcast.
You were just playing a
Jay
game.
Sniperton, how you been? And
I'm
we are
sorry.
live
Good, how are
with
you?
episode 4
Audio
of the
playing.
RetroSlot podcast. Whew, that sounds bad when that happens. Sorry, we are live with episode 4 of the RetroSlot podcast. Jay Sniperton, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How was your week? 2 weeks.
Very good. Honestly, I didn't play a whole lot of retro games. I've been really playing a ton of Ghost of Tsushima. Playing the multiplayer of that, so it's kind of limited the amount of time I played any retro games. But I have been watching a lot of retro game news happen, which has been very exciting for the future.
What's the thing that you're most excited about that you saw the last 2 weeks?
Definitely the analog. What are they calling it? I actually don't know what they're calling
Duo?
it. It's the TurboGrafx. Yeah, the Duo. I've got my eyes on that thing. I know I already owe Analog about $1,000, so it's like kind of.
Oh, what do you mean? Oh, they have it already, dude.
Yeah,
what do
good
you
point.
mean?
Good point. They owe me about $1,000.
That's right. Well, and we were talking about the price of that a couple of weeks ago, right? Like that. I was concerned that it was going to be a little expensive, but it's $199, which is right in the wheelhouse of something that I would consider for sure.
It's cheaper than the original.
Is it really? What was
I
the
think
original?
so. I think it was more like $300 to get the Turbo Duo because it had a CD. You know, back then CD players were like rare and expensive. You know, they're not like a dime a dozen like they are now, right?
Right.
Like DVD players. I guess it would be a CD player for that. Maybe they've gone up in price. I mean, when's the last time you bought a CD player?
Oh God, I can't imagine. Buy a CD player that skips every 10 seconds, you know?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's one of those. You know how like stuff gets more expensive once it goes kind of like into obscurity.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's going to happen with CD players.
I don't know. There were so many of them.
Yeah,
like the original iPods, the very first edition, if they're in good condition, are probably worth a decent amount. But like
really,
most stuff like that are just, I think just those electronics. If they were like complete in box, mint condition, I could see it. But
no, I mean
it's
actually
just...
like manufacturing brand new ones.
Oh, who has CDs?
I don't know. That's why I ask. I mean, I definitely have CDs in a box in my basement somewhere.
Yeah, I do too. But I'm saying, like, if you were an audiophile, wouldn't you go with something more like a vinyl player or something?
I do. I have a record player, kind of right there.
Because CDs and MP3 players, audio quality is pretty much the same, right? Fingering is Mister. Everybody, it's fine.
Yeah. MP3 players, I think, is a little worse than a CD player, like as far as quality goes. But you can get high res digital audio files that sound actually better than a CD. But you know that gets you into a world of very expensive equipment and extremely nerdy assholes. Like, if you
what are we?
Yeah, oh man, if you think the retro community can have some nerdy dicks in it, you gotta go into the audiophile community. You just walk into one of those stores and they look you up and down and they know you're a pauper. If you don't have $10,000 speakers, you're not even allowed to walk in the door.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine people collect CDs. People collect all sorts of stuff. Barbed wire.
What? Barbed wire?
Yeah, people will collect like copper wire and barbed wire and all sorts. Like I've heard stuff. Yeah, it's not just for scrap metal anymore.
It takes all kinds, I guess.
I mean, whatever you're into, just keep it away from me.
But the turbo, what is it called? What's the actual official name?
The Analog. I'm pretty sure it's called the Duo.
Okay, the Analog Duo is cool. It's the first time they've announced a product that has a CD player in it, right? So you can play in America. The TurboGrafx came out, and then they added a CD player to the TurboGrafx, but it wasn't really popular. For the most part, you're going to be looking at Japanese games with this, right? You're going to be looking at PC Engine or PC Engine Duo, I think it was called, or was it just Was it called the PC Engine Duo? There were so many names for this thing that it actually gets kind of confusing. But there's a ton of games, and actually the best Castlevania game of all time, according to many lists that I somewhat agree with, it's a good Castlevania game, is one of these games, Rondo of Blood, Castlevania Rondo of Blood. And unless you emulate or play on a Mister, it's still the only place to play this. Well, no, it got ported to PlayStation 4, actually, on a collection.
Is that a CD or a card?
That is a CD. That is a CD.
Okay.
Rondo of Blood. That's why it never made it to the U.S. It was a Japanese-only game until they eventually released it on the PSP. They remade it, and then if you beat the game, you can unlock the original version on the PSP. And then they just recently, in the last 5 years or so, released it for the PS4 along with Symphony of the Night in one game.
So this is interesting. I'm I'm looking up the price of this. By the way, disc only is running like 150 to $200.
Mm-hmm.
But the art of the CD looks exactly like the Dracula X.
Yeah,
for
so
Super Nintendo.
Dracula X was kind of like a remake of this game, but not really. Most people don't look too kindly on Dracula X. Like Castlevania fans don't. I've never played the game, so I don't have my own opinion on Dracula X, but like that's the conversation, right? Is that
Right.
game wasn't as good as a lot of the other Castlevanias. But Dracula X is a really expensive game because, I don't know, people are weird.
Super Nintendo games, like, yeah, they can get pretty pricey. But I was going to say, like, I feel like Analogue had to keep this console within reach financially because the thing that's most expensive is the games. Like,
yeah,
TurboGrafx games,
crazy.
and PC Engine games, like, it's hard to find good ones under $100.
It didn't sell well at all in America. So if you want an American collection, it's going to cost a ton.
Yeah.
Go in Japanese is cheaper, but even then it can be really expensive.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I also wonder with this thing, normally when you get an analog console, you go directly to, I think it's the Atari Age forums, and you look up, okay, what's the unofficial software for this? What's the unofficial firmware for this allow it to do? Like for the Super Nintendo, you can play, I think you can play NES games. I'm not sure what you can play on the Super Nintendo. On the Genesis, you can play like ColecoVision, Sega Master System, Sega Game Gear. So you get like extra functionality. What extra functionality do you put on this thing? Because it's going to play out of the box Super Graphics games, TurboGrafx games, PC Engine games, CD games, like right off the bat. So this actually got a lot of functionality for $199 if you're one of the 3 TurboGrafx fans in America.
What are the chances that somebody tries to hack the CD drive to play other systems?
I think the chances are pretty high. It would be
You'd have to
amazing
emulate
if this
those
thing
probably,
also
right?
became like a Sega CD player, right?
Hmm.
Well, the whole thing is emulation, right? It's like it's not an actual TurboGrafx. It's a FPGA programmed to function like a TurboGrafx. So all you got to do is program that same chip to function like a Sega Genesis and a Sega CD. Or, geez, what other consoles could it do? I don't think it's going to be able to do any the 32-bit stuff like Sega Saturn, PlayStation. I think it's out of reach.
Yeah, is TurboGrafx and PC Engine the only 16-bit CD systems?
No, Sega Genesis is a 16-bit system.
Oh, I mean, so you're saying put those like ROMs on a disc and throw them in there?
No, actual Sega CD games. Like you could actually put a Sega CD game into this thing if it was programmed to be
Got it.
a Sega CD.
I thought you were saying like the Genesis games, putting those in there.
Yeah, no, I mean Sega CD. Sorry. And then I don't know if they could do this either because I haven't seen anybody do this yet. But there's no way to play 32X games other than to have an actual janky ass 32X on top of a Genesis. On top of there were some games that did require both the 32X and the Sega CD. So you had to have the full tower of power.
Going into Transformers.
Yeah. Which I had as a kid, and I wish I had kept. Unfortunately, I sold a lot of that stuff because I wanted to play new games, which I don't blame my former self for. But I do wish that's one thing I wish I still had, because that was a stack of cool right there.
Stack of cool. I mean, just thinking about 3 consoles on top of each other, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a little
Yeah, it's
a
really
little
hard to find a
incestual.
32X that still works too, because apparently the capacitors in there were no good. It was part of that era where they started getting bad capacitors, so like everything has to be replaced when you get one.
Well, it's kinda like Game Gears now too.
My Game Gear
Pretty much
suffers
always
from
have
that.
to
I've got
be,
to send it
yeah.
out to get repaired. I was thinking
Um,
about tackling it myself, and then I was watching somebody else do it. I was like, no, that's above my skill level.
really? Oh, no, because that
Yeah.
was something that I was hoping to be able to do with the Game Gear too.
I can't
Soldering
remember
and
who
all
I was
that.
watching do it. I watched some. I Googled it on YouTube, or I YouTubed it, and found a video of somebody doing it. I was like, that just looks a little I don't want to wreck this Game Gear, right? Because it was my
Yeah,
childhood Game Gear. If
I was
you
the
sent me
same one.
your childhood Game Gear, I'd have no problem wrecking it. But my childhood Game Gear,
Well, you can pick up, like a non-functioning Game Gear for like 20-25 bucks.
yeah, maybe
And
that's the way to do it, is practice on that, and then
yeah,
once you
yeah.
get it perfected.
People are
I don't know,
putting like
man.
new
You sent
screens and
me
stuff.
a picture of you at a game store, kind of looking over some turbo games.
Yeah.
And did you pick up anything? Did you find anything
I
of note?
I didn't, so I'm just now starting to get into like Game Gear stuff, and so I picked up some stuff, Game Gear stuff there. But I figured I'd throw you a picture because I don't know very many game stores that have a selection even like that.
Yeah.
And that's like that was I don't even know how to describe it. That was half of a shelf that had dedicated to TurboGrafx, but it's like I mean it's like 5 shelves,
Yeah, it was a lot
uh,
of TurboGrafx games.
probably about 3 feet wide of TurboGrafx games and stuff, and they're so expensive. But
Yeah.
now, they're coming out with the TurboGrafx adapter for the Pocket for
Mhm.
29.99 as well, alongside this Analog Duo, and that's something I'll pick up, and, by the time I get the, Analog Pocket, I potentially will be able to, think about getting some of those games because that's, like, probably 9 months away,
Yeah.
so we got some time.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind getting a copy of Legendary Axe. I think that'd be a really cool game to get. Like the Bonk games were fun, but I'm not big on the mascot games. Like they're not my favorite kind of games, right? So I don't
That have
know. Like was that?
mascot game as in, like, kind of just like a silly character that
Yeah.
has multiple.
You know,
Gotcha.
when I was a kid, I was too edgy to possibly enjoy anything so cute as that. I was much happier blowing shit up, and being grim and dark.
Gotcha. Castlevania and all that. I
hmm
mean, that's something we can cover next week.
Yeah.
Be fun.
Um, but I mean, I did have a TurboGrafx. I bought one. It was on clearance when I bought it, and then I bought a few games with it. Unfortunately, I didn't get Legendary Axe. I would have loved to have that still kicking around. But there are some good games for it. It's not a console that didn't have good games, but a lot of them were Japanese only, because that console was actually really popular in Japan, especially for shooters. So there's not a lack of software for it, but there is kind of a lack of American software for it.
Mhm.
It's not. It was certainly not popular. It was right in the middle of the console wars, the most famous console war with the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. And I believe it launched the same Christmas as the Genesis. And it was a huge step up over the Nintendo Entertainment System. And in Japan, people just flocked to it. But for some reason, it just didn't take hold here. And then once Super Nintendo came out 2 years later, it really seemed like it just fell by the wayside.
Right. I mean, I wonder what was the pricing like for those games back then compared to like SNES,
I feel
Genesis?
like it was comparable to, well, any NES games. I remember being cheaper. Like I remember being able to buy new NES games for $30 or $40.
Yeah, I think some of them. I don't remember if there was like a baseline price.
I don't
I
remember
I wasn't
either.
old enough. I wasn't old enough to remember, but I think they were in the like 40 to 30 to 50 range, somewhere in there.
The cartridges back then too were. It wasn't just about like what's on the cartridges. The cartridge itself costs money because of the RAM chips, right? It's like you could buy. I remember Strider came out for the Genesis, and it was the first 8 mega RAM cartridge, right? and I think it cost $80 because it just used so much RAM that the physical cartridge, or that's how they justified it anyway, is that the physical cartridge costs more money. So that's why this game cost so much. But you could see it because that extra memory meant that there were more animations. There was more complex backgrounds. I was just watching a video not too long ago. I think it was by Sega Lord X on YouTube, who showed all 3 of the Shinobi games on the Genesis. Revenge of Shinobi, Shadow Dancer, and Shinobi 3. And Shinobi 3 was the only one that had an 8 meg graphics chip in it, or 8 megs of RAM. And it was incredible, the difference. Like, you could really see the difference between the 3 games. Also, it came out later in the Genesis life, so...
Right. I was just looking up the value. Still retained its value a little bit. Like, Shinobi 3 is still, I think, the more expensive one of the 3 as well.
What does it cost? Like $40 or so?
Complete in box, it's like 50.
Yeah, that's not too bad. I feel like that's a good price. That's a fun game too. I have that game. I have the first game, but I have Revenge of Shinobi, but I only have it in the Sega 6-pack, which is a cartridge that I think was pack-in with some Sega Genesis cartridge or consoles that has 6 games on it, like Streets of Rage, that, Columns.
It has Sonic on it too.
Sonic, Streets. I don't remember. I don't remember everything on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the TurboGrafx. Are you excited? So, are you excited for this thing? Are you gonna pick it up, or does this thing
I will pick it up. It might take me some time to get the games, but to have a modern, accessible system that I can hook up to to an LED or an LCD screen and be able to play the games in a decent way is very, very. It looks good to me for sure.
Yeah, this is a big upgrade too, because the only available output on a regular TurboGrafx 16 is RF. It doesn't even have RCA cables.
Was the resolution? I'm trying to remember what SNES was. Was it 240 back then?
Yeah, 240p. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it looks like garbage. I actually bought an HDMI cable for it, like one of those little converters, and it made it even worse. So.
They didn't have like an S-video cable that you could use?
No, there's no connector back there. The only connector is RF. You can buy... So on the back of the thing, it's got this like block of pins. I don't know what to compare it to. It's like this block of inputs that you can plug stuff into. Probably like the Turbo Duo or the CD player when that came out. But there are some products out there that you can plug in and like a better output option. Like if you want to go SCART for RGB, you can do that. And it's actually pretty affordable. I think actually Insurrection Industries just announced one that's about $50. And then you can get RGB out. And then there's another one from Terra Onion that also has an ODE in it, or optical disc emulator in it. So you can play Turbo Duo games. You can basically play any game for the PC Engine or the TurboGrafx or any of the CD systems.
Nice.
And it has RGB out.
Are those plug and play?
I think so, but that Terra Onion one is expensive. I think it's like $300.
Oof.
But yeah, I mean, you can play any game.
Gotcha. Having a plug and play solution is definitely good for me. Somebody who's not like, I'm technically inclined in a lot of ways, but trying to figure out how to route certain things on old consoles and into like newer TVs and stuff is just kind of a difficult thing. I probably because I just haven't looked into it, but yeah, it's kind of over my head at this point.
Yeah, it gets expensive fast too. Once you start looking at cables and you look at, like, I use an OSSC to actually convert the analog into an HDMI signal, and that thing was $150 by itself. And then you got to get all the cables to do it. You got to mod the consoles to do it.
That's crazy.
I don't know. It's fun though. It's stupid fun, but it's fun.
If you're like a tinkerer, I can totally see it. It's just nice that a company like Analogue is kind of doing the grunt work for people like me.
Yeah,
to make it accessible. It's nice.
I wonder too if they're going to have like a whole nother round of these when like in like 4K.
Ooh.
You know, because they're all output in 1080p now. But like 4K is what people really want, and the math works out better if because you can divide 240p into 4K evenly, but you can't do that with 1080p. So you always have to have like some weird interpolation where the pixels are never going to add up absolutely correctly. But with 4K, absolutely you can do that. So I do wonder if there's going to be another round of all these with 4K.
Have you run like an SNES analog on your 4K TV or monitor?
Yeah, it looks great.
Is it? Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. At that point, it's they probably could, because I can't imagine from a development standpoint that it would be all that much effort. And if they feel like they could capitalize on it, then they probably will. Because you know how they kind of handled the NES, where they were re-releasing it and everything. It's possible. You know.
Yeah.
I'd rather them put more resources into like trying to figure out the N64 situation, but who knows if that'll ever happen.
Yeah. I know they're working on that for the Mister, but I don't know how realistic it is.
Right.
I wonder if they're going to take another shot at the Neo Geo analog, because they originally did a Neo Geo that was really expensive, but it had like a wood grain. It was actually made out of wood, right? The case was made out of wood. They made the controllers out of wood, and it had real Neo Geo parts inside of it.
Analog did?
Yeah. It was one of their first products.
Wow. That would be pretty dope.
I would love if they kind of redid that, and if they got, so they don't make their own controllers anymore, but the 8-bit do, they work closely with 8-bit do to make them, or 8-bit do, or whatever, how you ever say that stupid word.
We need confirmation how to say do. Great.
Yeah. But it, 8-bit do just came out with an arcade stick, which would go perfectly with the Neo Geo. So.
Right. Yeah. A lot of arcade ports and stuff.
Yeah. Have you played with the Neo Geo much at all?
I haven't. Like the original Neo Geo. I've had like Neo Geo Pocket games.
Yeah.
Before, but the Neo Geo Pocket is just kind of a janky system too. It's like the original Game Boy Advance, where it's like, right, it's not really lit up at all, and pretty sure, right? I think they had a color version of the Neo Geo Pocket, but I don't think it had a backlight.
But if Analog was to make a Neo Geo, I would be pretty, I'd be pretty on board, especially if they did it at like the $200 price point as opposed to the $500 price point. Because like I'm really impressed by the new Analog NT Black Edition that we're both getting, Noir, right? And it does some really cool stuff. But I'd be more impressed if they took it out that aluminum case, put it in a plastic case, and charged $200 for it. Like, and it was available for more people, because the thing is super rare. Pre-orders for the thing are going for $1,000 on eBay. Like, it'd be awesome if this thing came out at that $200 price point.
The NES, or are you talking about the Neo Geo?
Both.
Yeah. Well, I've been seeing
really quick here.
A lot of people have been talking about them wanting to see the NES Mini or something like that comes out. It's like the SNES Mini form factor with plastic, and it's still really high quality. It feels like weighted, like they put some kind of metal or something in the bottom of it to kind of give it some heft. They feel nice, even though they're made of plastic. And so, yeah, that'd be pretty dope if they did that for the 200, 250 range. And they probably don't even have to have like some of the functionality that they have in the Noir.
Right.
I think they have like the DAC built in and some of the other things that they probably wouldn't need in just a functional system.
Yeah, it doesn't have to have analog out, because they have that DAC you can buy now.
Right.
The external one.
Right. Like,
so there's no need to have that built in. If they can make that for $200, I mean, I'd buy one.
Yeah.
I'd probably buy one in addition to the $500.
Yeah. God. Here's my display box for the Noir. Here's my display box for the plastic cheap one.
Well, I need one for upstairs and for downstairs, right? I don't want to have to walk to a different room to play Nintendo.
They're so easy to unhook. Like, I literally switch between the SNES and the Genesis to play Sonic, and literally just have to unplug the USB Mini and the HDMI or USB micro or whatever it is. And
mine are all set up. Mine are all set up so you can turn them on and start playing at any point. Yeah, man, Neo Geo would be dope, and it seems like they're just going through the lineup, right? It seems like anything that can be done on an FPGA, they're gonna do. I don't know, like I don't love their business model, and I hate right now I have 2 PlayStation 5s pre-ordered. I have an Xbox Series X pre-ordered. I have an Analog NT pre-ordered. I don't have an Analog. I wish I had an Analog Pocket pre-ordered, but I don't, and that was only because I couldn't get in time. The Analogue Duo I want to pre-order, but I'm getting real sick of this pre-ordering baloney. Honestly,
for like a year and a half. Yeah,
it's like I'm ready for people to just say, okay, it's out now, and we have made enough that everybody who wants one can get one. Like I know that it drives like the press and everything when like things are rare, and it makes it feel like a luxury or a cooler item, but I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of pre-ordering. And
I mean, I hear you, and I feel that too because I have a lot of money tied up as well. But I think for them, they're a small company. Like we've talked about this before. I think they only have like a handful of employees, and I think for them, they don't really have the capital to produce the numbers that people are actually buying. So I think they're using pre-orders as like a manufacturing
yeah,
cost.
I mean, when I look at their website and I see just everything's out of stock, I'm like, what is going on? Like the money is sitting here on the table and you're just refusing to pick it up. You know what I'm saying? Like their Super NT hasn't been in stock for a year. How is that not in stock? How is it not a priority to keep that thing in stock? How many would they be selling over the course of a year? 1 million?
Yeah, I don't know if they're allowed to, if their manufacturer will let them do a small run. Like, I mean, small run as in like under 5,000 or something like that. They might have to reserve a certain number of them before they can manufacture.
Do you think that's the scale they're selling those things on? Like 5,000 at a time?
Well, they bought a certain amount of them and they've gone through them. And have they ever restocked them? Like once
they
once
restocked
the items
the
sell
black
out?
ones, yeah.
That was like a limited edition one, wasn't it?
The white one was
SNES?
limited edition. I think the black one was just the standard black one.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be maybe it's 1,000. I don't know. Like it's a number that they have to commit to. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. Stop being practical, goddammit.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that there's flaws in their what they're doing, but maybe they don't have the forethought, and maybe they don't have the expertise on the business side and the manufacturing side within the company to like make it run super smooth. They're just kind of doing what they can.
Yeah.
So I generally try to keep my expectations low to not get that like, God, do you want it? But it does suck to have. I think I have about $2,000, $1,800 tied up with Analogue right now.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I bought 2 of each of the Noir in the Pocket.
Did you get a pre-order in for a PS5 or an Xbox Series X?
Yeah,
both.
But at least those are pay on shipping and not pay on pre-order.
That's true.
But at the same time, like I kind of prefer to pay when I pre-order because that's like when you're budgeting for things, and then all of a sudden when something ships, you're like, wait, where'd that 500? What? How much money just came out of my credit card?
Yeah, I could see that being a rude surprise, especially like in November. Like, I could see that being a rude surprise. I actually like this summer I got a new credit card just for this purpose because I knew this was going to be an issue. So I'm just like, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a new credit card. That way when the PS5 and the Xbox and all the accessories and games that I'm going to want, right? I was budgeting for about $1,000 a piece. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to get a different credit card. That way it's all separate. Like I can pay it off whenever I want to, or I could, lump sum it, but it's not going to affect anything else, right? I just figured that was the easiest way.
Translation. There's 2 translations there. 1, it's a business expense. 2, like to keep everything separate. 2, it's a credit card that your wife probably won't have access to.
I'm going to talk about that, Jay. That is not a place.
Source, me.
What else is going on this week?
I mean, that was the big news there.
That was the big news.
Sega, Sega's kind of doing their whole. I didn't even realize this Sega's 60th anniversary.
Yeah, that's been kind of cool to see what they're releasing, like as they do this, right?
So they're doing some weird promo stuff. They released an abandoned Golden Axe project from 2012.
Yeah.
That
Did you get a chance to play this?
I completely missed it because it was only available for a day, right?
Yeah.
So,
I pick this up, and it's better than you'd think it was.
Honestly. Really, I watched some video. I was like, "This looks awful."
It's not that bad, It's clearly inspired by the old arcade titles, the old Golden Axe, where it's just like it's a pretty standard battling, like a brawler game where you walk across the screen, some enemies enter, the scrolling stops, you do battle, and then it says all clear, and you can start walking again, right? And you can only play one character, the Axe Battler, who is the guy with the sword, of course. And the animation isn't quite done yet, so like when you hit the button to swing the sword, he doesn't like go back to his reset position. He just like leaves the sword out there. But then if you hit it again fast enough, he'll like start a combo that brings it from that position to the next position. Like kind of like that. And it actually, while I was playing, I'm like, there is something to this. Like instead of having your character just like automatically like go back to reset, if he just like leaves it out, and then you can from there like do another slice to your combo, like it kind of works. And the graphics were not great, but not bad. It was from 2007 or whatever.
2012?
2012. So it would have been like an Xbox 360, PS3 era game, right?
Yeah. I watched some video on it, and the main character kind of reminded me of like if you took the dude from Getting Over It, the dude in the bucket with the hammer, like the animation of him like swinging over to climb up the mountain, like that's what it reminded me of. But the most interesting thing about this is that the team, and it was like only a few people, it might have even just been 2 guys, worked on it for 2 weeks before it was scrapped.
That's a lot of work to do in 2 weeks, man.
Yeah, and the developers didn't even know that they were doing this, like releasing it for
they're super happy that they just released their unfinished work and then called it shit on.
Probably didn't get compensated for it either. I mean, realistically,
no, but I mean, you generally don't get compensated for work you did 10 years ago for a company you don't work for anymore.
True, but they were talking about how their bosses are like the team that they were working on, the people that were overseeing it, like were giving them like 1 day to work on combat or like really short amounts of time. And they were just like, we had all these cool ideas and they just wouldn't allow us to do it.
Yeah, it sounded like the managers wanted God of War and these guys wanted to make Golden Axe.
Right.
And they made Golden Axe and their manager said, well, we want to go to God of War. We wanted God of War with a Golden Axe theme.
Yeah.
They're super mad about it on Twitter. I guess I can't blame them. But at the same time, I'm super excited that Sega decided to release it. I actually think it's a pretty impressive thing that 2 people were able to get this done in 2 weeks. Like, to me, it's a pretty impressive thing. And like, it's kind of fun to think what like a Golden Axe. What do you do with that franchise at this point, right? It's like because that style of we got Streets of Rage 4 this year. And that works. So maybe a Golden Axe game can work again, right?
Did the Streets of Rage 4 game, does it have like any progression in it?
Yeah, you can unlock characters and stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, I think do that kind of thing in Golden Axe, maybe have some kind of RPG element where you're leveling up your characters. Like it doesn't have to be super complex. I think those things with those kind of retro games, if you just kind of add progression and allow us to continue the feeling of what you're working towards is actually going towards something. Because one of the things that's tough about old games is just there's not a whole lot of replayability.
Yeah.
And like once you get through something, it's like, all right, well, that's done. What do I do now? So giving people an excuse to come back to it over and over again, I think is really all you need.
One of the things they did with Streets of Rage 4 that made it so addictive to play was that there was real depth to the gameplay. Like if you look back into that genre, like it started off with there being a punch button and a kick button, and that's it, right? And then like over time they got more complex, and this feels like a real Streets of Rage 4 feels like a real progression for that type of side-scrolling beat 'em up. And it feels deep and like fun to play. Like there's actual strategy to, how you play it. So if they could do like what you were saying with like some progression, some RPG mechanics, plus put some like real like evolved gameplay into it, I would be all over it. Like I'd be over it, because like Golden Axe to me it holds a lot of nostalgia value, being a Sega nerd when I was a kid, and I'd love to play a new one. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I mean, it was a great game. It had that side-scrolling beat 'em up with all the, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong. It had all the like potions and power-ups and magic and all that kind of stuff, which was interesting and unique for that genre of game. Like most, you think of Double Dragon and Battletoads and all that stuff. It was just you're just smashing stuff,
Yeah.
right? You pick up weapons and sticks and bats and all that kind of stuff, but there wasn't really that element of magic and kind of fantasy element to it that Golden Axe brought to the table, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would
agreed.
be, put some online multiplayer in there, co-op, all over it.
Yeah. Yeah, that game's still fun. Even the Genesis port of it is still fun.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
Anything else? I was just gonna say, next on the list for news, something that I've been keeping my eye on, and I literally set up an alert for like I've always followed Nintendo's Twitter, but I set up notifications because the second that Game and Watch pre-orders go live, I won't, 'cause I think they're gonna sell out really quick for $50.
Yeah.
The Game and Watch releases in freaking 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks, and they still haven't given pre-orders for North America when Europe and Japan are available.
I have a feeling they're
But
not going to do pre-orders.
well, they put up the pages on Amazon and Best Buy for the product, $49.99. It says email me when available or whatever, like notify me, but there's no actual pre-order yet. So I signed up for both those notifications, and you don't think that they're gonna do pre-orders? That'd be crazy.
I don't know. Like they did it they've already done it in Japan. They've already done it in Europe. So like why wouldn't they have just done it at the same time here? It makes me think they're not going to do it. They're just going to put them out in stores and like try and just avoid the pre-order kind of madness. Cause like if you look at what's happening with pre-orders right now across the industry, it's not engendering a bunch of goodwill for the companies, right? Everybody's mad at Nvidia because they can't get the new graphics cards. Everybody's mad at Sony because they can't get the new PlayStation 5. Everybody's mad at Xbox because they can't get the new Xbox. So Nintendo could just drop them into stores, like go after them. I don't know is that what they're thinking, but
I wonder if, I mean, that's an interesting thought to see if that would actually impact much of the like mass scalping of consoles and systems, because I would bet that these things are going to be going for at least $100 on eBay, like within days of being released. And they have said that, yeah, it is a limited release too, and they're only going to be selling them through March of 2021. So people are going to get their hands on as many as they can. They know it's going to be a collector's item. I would like to get one or two, in case somebody jailbreaks it and you can put something else on it. It'd be pretty cool too.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't remember this industry being like this, right? This feels new to me. It's like you got to pre-order everything. If you don't pre-order it, you're going to miss out entirely on the product. It sucks. It's so stressful. Like
I mean, well, I think it feels new because console releases are so spread out now. Like you think about it in NES and SNES and N64, it was only a few years between. I mean, like what, 5 years maybe between the different systems, and now it's like pushing 10 years. And history dictates, and these companies like Microsoft and Sony are releasing small amounts of consoles to create kind of a buzz, and Nintendo does it too. And people can deny it all they want, but there's marketing there for not being able to buy something, and that element of FOMO, like, man, I really want it just because I can't have it. Right.
Yeah.
And so the people that take advantage of it are the ones that, you know, it's this like whole evil group of people that we label as scalpers who
That's right. You are evil.
I will pick up a few extra sometimes to like sell a couple and like make mine cheaper, right? But I'm not going out there spending $80 a month on a bot that's going to buy 300 of them. I'll buy like 2 or 3 and just try to make mine cheap.
Yeah.
Generally, if I can. Um, but this has been going on for a long time. Like, because I've been doing this kind of thing since, like, trying to make my consoles cheap or free. I've been doing it for 20 years. Like, I remember when the Wii was released, it was the same thing, and the Switch and
Oh, the Wii was a
Xbox
bad one. You're right.
360 and Xbox One, PS3, PS4. It was all the same. Like, you couldn't find them. What was it? PS3 was selling for $1,200 on eBay immediately.
Wow.
It's crazy. Yeah. No, so it's just how it goes, and, you know, over time, they'll release enough for people to consume, but with a limited release like the Game& Watch thing, like, it's similar to Analog. If you don't pick it up, you're out,
Yeah.
you know? There's not a whole lot you can do about it, and it kinda sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you think about like picking stuff up that you don't necessarily. Well, I don't know if I'm going to use this right now, but I might want it in the future. And you got a
Yeah,
house full of
exactly.
shit that you don't use.
Exactly. I guess the positive there, though, is if you do end up, and this is always what I recommend for people if they're, like, waffling, they're like, "I don't know if I wanna get it." I'm like, "If you have any thought that you wanna actually get this within the next 6 months, like, say, for an Xbox Series X or something," I was like, "You need to pick it up now because, 1, you're not gonna be able to find it Christmas time, for less than double, or, you know, it's gonna be 6 months to a year before you can find one." So, if you want it, and worst case, you end up getting it to your house, and you're like, "Yeah, I don't really want it." Sell it. Make a
Yeah.
couple $100, like, you know, there you go.
Yeah.
Or return it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird time, and I don't think it's going to change. Like, I think because people are home right now with the COVID and everything,
Mhm.
like, people just have more free time, and like video games are a great way to spend it. It's just like there's just a hyper laser focus on the video game industry right now. It's like the same thing's happening with like gym stuff, like workout equipment. Like
Oh, really?
anything that goes in stock immediately gets sold out right away. Like bike
Wow.
shops can't keep anything in stock. I was like, have you ever seen those one wheel? They're not skateboards, but they kind of look like skateboards, but they got
Oh, yeah.
one big wheel in the middle instead of 4 wheels on the edges.
Mhm.
I was looking at those things, and I'm like, this might be fun. Oh, you can't get one. You can't get one.
It's
You
like,
can't have that.
what do they call those big, like, singular wheel things that you can take to conventions and stuff that are like
The Segway?
Yes, it's like a mini Segway almost?
Yeah, kind of. Basically, if you ride it like a skateboard, so it goes like sideways, but it's just
Mhm.
got one big wheel in the middle of it that's like rubber, and you lean forward to make it go forward, lean back to make it stop, and then like a skateboard, you lean, you know, sideways to make it turn, and it goes pretty quick. I think it's like 15 miles an hour, which is pretty quick, you know, on something
I
like
just
that.
You got health insurance? Go
Uh-huh.
for it. Just ow. I just picture that, like, ow. I can see myself just eating it.
Yeah, definitely. But it's gonna be fun on the way down.
I'm having so much fun.
Is Sega doing anything else cool? I know they also released that Streets of I keep wanting to call it Yakuza, even though I know it's got a different name. But they released that for free too, which is like it's basically the first level of Streets of Rage, but with like the main character from Yakuza as your combatant.
Really?
Yeah, they released that on Steam as well. That might have been limited as well. I'm not sure, but it was around that same time. Are they doing anything else? Is it going to be like a long rollout for the 60th anniversary of Sega, or are they
Yeah,
pretty
I
much
don't know
done
if
with
they've
it?
announced I don't know if they've announced much else other than what we talked about 2 weeks ago with the potential of doing a Dreamcast or an SG-1000 Mini.
Yeah, there was more news on that, wasn't there? There was an actual dude who said, like, hey, Or did we talk about that last episode?
We talked about that 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
He kind of teased it out.
Yeah.
I'm okay with them kind of slow releasing this stuff and just kind of it being a surprise. But I would like to have more than a couple of days notice to download something. If it's
Yeah.
only going to be available for a day, like, hey, go download it now or you're fucked forever. Like,
Yeah.
can
Well, you're honestly not missing out on anything. I mean, it's nothing that neither one of these games is anything that you're going to put more than 10 minutes into.
Okay,
right?
okay. It's just
You
like a
know?
single level just to kind of.
Yeah, the Streets of Yakuza thing is exactly that. It is a single level. When you play through the end, it just restarts to the beginning. And it's like the first level from Streets of Rage, basically. The only difference is
Kamurocho?
Yeah, that's what it's called. Thank you.
Kamurocho? Yakuza Kiwami. Just like 60th anniversary. Yeah, I mean, the 60th birthday is like coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't Sonic's 30th birthday coming up as well?
Yeah, yep. So it's kind of coinciding. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
June 3rd actually was the 60th anniversary.
Okay, so it already happened. To me, like, I could care less about Sega's 60th anniversary, right? It's like a corporation has been around for 60 years. I don't care. Sonic's 30th anniversary is a little more fun because it's a created character. Like, it's something creative. It's been around for a long time. And it'd be fun to see if they celebrate it with a new game or with new, like, what do they do for Sonic's 30th anniversary? It'd be great to see a new game. I don't know if we're going to see a new Sonic game anytime soon.
People were hoping maybe to do some kind of classics version similar to what they did with Super Mario 3D.
Okay, that'd be fun.
Had like some kind of generational. It'd be cool to have not just like the Genesis stuff because they've redone, Genesis classics and all that kind of stuff over and over again. But
yeah, 100 times. Yeah.
Get some of those like the Sonic Adventure and stuff on a something. Probably Switch. I mean, where else would it go?
It seems like the natural place to put it. It'd be great to get like a all-encompassing Sonic collection. Like all of the mainline Sonic games, plus all of like the weird stuff like Sonic Spinball, Sonic Team Racing, like all of it. Imagine that. That'd actually be a pretty cool collection to buy. Even if it came on 2 cartridges or something, just to...
Oh, they don't need 2 cartridges for that. Are you kidding?
No, they don't need to, but just to drive up the price, basically. Like... Although I think Sega's doing a lot better than it used to be doing like a few years ago. I think they actually got some games that sell pretty well, like the Yakuza games and stuff like that.
I mean, they license a bunch of characters to Nintendo now too, so
that's true.
Yeah.
Those rumors about Microsoft buying Sega were were concerning. Like I really didn't want that to happen.
When was that?
That was this summer. At one point, Microsoft released a blue controller that was exactly Sonic the Hedgehog blue. So everybody just like assumed, oh, they're buying Sega, and Sonic the Hedgehog is now a Microsoft-owned property, which everybody denied. Sega denied it, Microsoft denied it, and then Sega bought Bethesda shortly after. So like the smoke from that kind of subsided, but. Sega's always been like that kind of rebel company that doesn't do things the way everybody else does it. And I'd hate to see Microsoft corporate overlords kind of take that out of the Sega DNA.
Yeah. I mean, God, when did Sega, I can't remember what year it was when they kind of just decided that they were a software company now,
I think it was
whenever
2000 or 2001. 2001. So
I feel like the IPs that, because there's only been a few, they've had to have made a whole bunch of IPs, like new ones, right? Sega?
Yeah. I mean, the Yakuza series is new. What else is new? Oh, Jesus. Nothing's coming to mind, but that doesn't mean I could Google it real quick. Sega. It's gonna, if I Google franchises for Sega though, it's all gonna be the old stuff like Sonic, stuff like that. Yeah, that's not even a Googleable thing right now.
I just put Sega new IP. They're talking about like Atlas working with Sega
Oh
for new
yeah,
IP.
Atlas.
Yeah. So that's probably going to be an RPG, I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, they got new stuff for sure. It's just I'm not thinking of it real quick.
It's all good. We can move forward.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've got a soft spot in my heart for Sega. Sega was the company. Like, I got nothing against Nintendo, but they just did it differently than Nintendo, which was refreshing, right? It's like, because you still got the Nintendo stuff, right? If I grew up on the NES and the Sega Genesis, it just did it differently. It wasn't better or worse. It was just different, and that felt refreshing. It was nice to have an alternative to Nintendo because the 8-bit generation was dominated by Nintendo. Your only choice was one company and what they thought you should consume. And that wasn't true with the 16-bit generation. I think we owe it to Sega for that.
For sure.
Can you imagine?
Sega does what Nintendo don't.
Yeah. Can you imagine if we had grown up in a world where Nintendo just dominated the video game industry start to finish from 8-bit generation till now? Like, how weird would it be? I wonder what would have happened. I mean, that would be Microsoft never coming in. That would be Sony never coming in. Just Nintendo domination.
I think the biggest thing progressively that the other companies have forced Nintendo to do is at least try to keep up with graphics quality.
Yeah.
Because they've always been behind, but it's never really bugged them or consumers because they're always about quality content.
Yeah.
But one of the things that keeps them within, lines distance is the fact that these other companies are so far ahead. They're like, well, we gotta improve at least a little bit to make people think that we're, trying. And without that little bit of push, I think it probably would have not even been as good as it is now.
There was a time where Nintendo wouldn't let any adult themed stuff on their platform at all. And like if Sega and Sony, I think, hadn't allowed that stuff and made great profit off of it, we may still be in that situation. I remember, as a kid, Nintendo was up there criticizing Sony in front of the U.S. Congress about Night Trap and Mortal Kombat Blood.
Of course they were. It was competition.
Yeah, Nintendo was definitely the bad guy in that scenario, and I've never fucking forgiven them, to be honest with you.
So you didn't play Bubble Bath Babes for the NES?
No, I missed that one.
It's an $800 game now, by the way.
Is it? Did it come out? Was it officially licensed?
Actually, more than that. Even it's going for like $1,500. It's like a third-party license. It's one of those, Cheetah Man, weird.
Yeah. Games. Is that it for news this week? Do we have anything else?
One more tiny thing that I thought was interesting. Being kind of an SNES, going back to Nintendo, the evil Nintendo Corporation system of SNES. Somebody's publishing a SNES Encyclopedia, releasing in about a week on November 6th, which has every single North American SNES game release, and it also has a Virtual Boy section, which is really interesting to me, being a Virtual Boy collector. It's hardback. It's got full color everything. It's $39 up for pre-order on Amazon. It's not terribly expensive.
No, that's pretty nice. Do you know what's the name of it?
It's literally called the SNES Encyclopedia.
And it's all about the art with those books, right?
This is every game, and it has a synopsis, and it has things that make the game interesting. There's actual facts of each game too. For this one.
Oh,
it's not just pictures.
I like it when you actually do have more in-depth write-ups, because a lot of them will just basically repeat what's on the back of the box and maybe have an anecdote or two about it. Have you ever seen the Video Game Historian on YouTube?
I haven't yet, but it's on my list of things to watch for sure.
He does a good job of kind of digging into some of those older games and kind of the development that went behind them and the story behind the development of the game in a cool way. I like that channel a lot.
Yeah, I've been watching I found it on Amazon Prime, but I think it started on YouTube. It's just the video game years, and they go through one year at a time, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, and they cover arcade stuff. They cover like right now it's Atari and Television, and like the good games, the not so good games. Like there's all these different content creators that come in and kind of give their input. Like the bigger ones in the retro community from the last 20 years. It's pretty cool.
Oh, cool.
Learning a lot through that.
I like that stuff. It's fun. It adds context to the video games that we enjoyed as a kid.
For sure.
Or that we're enjoying now. Is it time to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog 1? The original Sonic the Hedgehog?
I need to put a couple of things out there first as we're talking about this. First of all, I may or may not have used a Game Genie code on it because I played through it a couple of nights ago, and I started the game fresh, and I got to like the third world or something, and I lost my lives, and I went back to the very beginning, and then I did it again, and I was like, I can't. So I started looking online. I was like, oh, the analog system has built-in Game Genie. All right. So I found like an unlimited lives code. Like it wasn't invincibility. It just like I just wouldn't go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
So then I actually finished it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This game, I played it as a kid, but I didn't play a ton of it as a kid because I mentioned earlier, I'm not that into the mascot games. I'm still kind of not that into it. Although this year, I think in particular, it's nice to have that levity, that kind of like that happiness that these kind of lighter games bring you. Like I've gotten way more into Mario this particular year, than any year in the past, just because with all the things going on in the world, it's nice to have something just happy on the screen, right? And I feel like that this game is just kind of fun, right? It's just kind of joyful and fun to play. It's got some quirks to it, though, like the acceleration of Sonic and the fact that you often have to jump somewhere that you can't see.
Oh, yeah.
Often. And that's kind of a no-no, I think, in game design, is having like those blind jumps.
I also have to concede that the first thing that I did when I loaded into Emerald Zone or Emerald Hill, whatever it's called, the first thing I try to do is squat and spin.
Yeah.
And I forgot that it's not in the first Sonic.
Yeah.
It's in like every other Sonic game ever made, but
and
not
it's
the
critical,
first one.
Right?
No, it's
because the acceleration
like, okay,
of just walking.
Run.
Yeah.
You have to like run and then duck, and it's just kind of when enemies are on the ground and stuff, it's just kind of like it's difficult to deal with them sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was I was literally sitting there for 10 minutes trying to figure out is there something broken on this controller? Like, is it a different button? I literally Googled it, and it's like, yeah, it's not in the first game. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. What controller do you use on your analog system? Do you use a old school?
So I got the HyperDub version of the analog, so it came with one of their Genesis controllers. If I end up getting a second one, I'll probably just get another one of these. The 8-bit Duo.
Yeah, that's the M30, right?
It is. Yes.
That is an awesome controller.
Yeah.
Like it's my favorite kind of like retro gaming controller. I was playing. I started off by playing on a actual Genesis 3-button controller, like from back in the day.
Right.
I kind of forgot that that controller is not that great. Like, I didn't know it at the time. Maybe, and my hands were completely a different shape back then. But man, like, it's a weird shape. It feels like you're holding a pancake, kind of.
It's like there's a lot of plastic on those controllers.
Yeah, and the D-pad on mine, I know there was a ton of different revisions of that 3-button pad for the Genesis, but on my particular one, the D-pad is sharp. Like, the edges are sharp. Like, it needed to be rounded off in the mold or something. So I ended up switching to the M30, and I started having a better time. The nice thing about that M30, too, from 8-bit Do is that it works on a real Genesis or an analog, and you can get a USB receiver for it, so it'll work on a computer or basically anything. I think you can hook it up to a Switch. And the latency has been tested on it for I don't know about the Bluetooth version, but the 2.4 gigahertz version is very, very fast. So even playing it wirelessly, it feels, you can't notice it, which is great.
Yeah, I was playing. I mean, and Sonic is one of those games where every millisecond counts when you're
mhm.
doing platformings and trying to avoid stuff. So yeah, and it just was super like not noticeable at all to
Was
me.
it more difficult than you remembered or than you expected? Was this your first time playing through it, or had you done it before?
I mean, I played the Sonic games as a kid. I can't remember if I had played through the first one all the way as a kid or not. I do remember playing it though. Uh, but it's probably the first time me as an individual played through the entire game. Yeah, it didn't take very long, maybe an
No.
hour, and that was after the like first two where I went back to the beginning and then decided I was going to do unlimited lives.
Yeah, unlimited lives definitely sped up that process.
I can't imagine how long it would have because you literally start with 3 lives. And the only way to get more lives is to get 100 coins,
Yeah,
which it's unlike Mario, right? Where if you're getting, excuse me, rings. If you're getting coins in Mario and you get hit, you don't lose them, right?
yeah,
So it's really difficult to get 100 rings in Sonic sometimes, or
yeah.
get that extra life that's hidden. You know?
What struck me, I came back to this game earlier this year, and then I played it again a bit last night. Was not only the difficulty of the first game, but also how slow it plays. Like it was
Hmm.
advertised as being like this fast game, and it is fast, like in certain areas, right? When you're doing like loop de loops and stuff, but like when you're in that underground level, like you're really like you're doing some precision platforming, which can be a little
Yeah,
frustrating because Sonic's a little bit more slippery than something like
yeah,
Mario, right?
yeah,
He doesn't he doesn't nail those jumps quite as solidly. Like he doesn't just stop on a dime like Mario does. He kind of skids to a stop. So the really precise platforming can be a pain. Um, but man, he's got like that attitude, and like it's kind of just fun to just like watch him, and like I
it's
don't
like
know. I think
waiting
the
and
game
stuff.
really feels like it feels like something different than your basic side scroller. It's more colorful. It's got personality to it. Like it definitely has that Sonic attitude that I think was kind of perfect for the 90s, right? It just fit in with the 90s very well. I don't know if it really
Yeah.
translates anymore.
I mean, it was pretty revolutionary for the time. It was the fastest game like in existence when it came out. Like
Yeah.
characters were moving the fast. But to your point, like it's fast, but in that first game, and I'm kind of excited to go through the other games and kind of see if it felt this way too. But in the first game, I found myself after dying a couple of times, really being like, okay, I have to rein this in. I have to take my time and make sure that I'm getting these jump, which for a Sonic game seems counterproductive and counterintuitive because you
Right.
just want to go, right? But it's like, okay, I have to stop and be careful here or I'm gonna die, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, right. It's like the game seems to be encouraging you to just like recklessly just like fly forward, but
Right.
that's guaranteed. Like there are traps. Like you'll be just like going through loop de loops and going as fast as hell, and then there'll be like spikes just like ding. And you're like,
The timing of them coming down or something is if you
yeah.
yeah, it's
Like so the game does encourage like it feels like it's trying to get you to go fast, but in actuality the game designers are saying you need to take it slow sometimes. Like it's almost the
yeah.
speed is a tool that is in your tool bag, but it's not the only tool that you should be using. um I think that the series got better as it went along, but I think it had a strong start, and you could see why it was so popular. You know, it's for the Genesis, the graphics were outstanding, and they still are. The sound is outstanding. The music, I think,
Mhm.
still holds up. I can listen to the Green Hill Zone theme basically at any point and put a smile on my face. I don't know. It's a special game to me. Even
Oh
though
yeah.
like it wasn't my kind of game, like you could just tell. It's like a sometimes you see something that it doesn't appeal to you, but you can tell that it's special, and you can tell that it's very important. And this game
Mhm.
definitely feels like it's in that like of that mold to me.
For sure. Yeah, like even the simple things that we take for granted now, but looking back, like I didn't have a Genesis as a kid. But I think Sonic would have been one of those games, kind of like how Mario 64 was for me, where it's just like, oh my God, because it's so much different than what you're used to. And like there's the multi-level gameplay and the speed of everything and all the different power-ups and stuff and the checkpoints, which was pretty new for that time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would say the only lackluster part of that game for me, going back and playing it, was the boss fights.
Yeah.
They're so
I can see
like
that.
easy, except for the only one that wasn't easy was I don't remember, was it Labyrinth? It was the one where you're going between water that's rising all the time, these different platforms you have to get on. The final boss fight for that, it's one of the later levels. The boss fight is you're platforming, you're trying to like stay out of the water, so you have to platform fast enough, and you're chasing Eggman or Dr. Robotnik all the way to the top. Uh, but it's not just the platforming. There's little things that are spitting fire sideways that you have to like traverse, and then there's spikes that you have to figure out the timing of that are coming from all different directions. So it took me probably a dozen tries because I didn't have any rings at the time uh to get through that
Oh, when you
because
start with a new life, you start with no rings too, right?
right, and there
Yeah.
was no rings to get it,
Yeah.
before you get to that spot from the checkpoint. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's still of the time when the replayability of a game was because you got 3 lives and 3 continues, and then you had to start over. Like, and they could only fit so much game on a cartridge, so they had to make it
this
hard.
game didn't have any continues.
Oh, there were no continues, so it's
No,
just 3
you lose your
3
3 lives, you go
lives.
back to level 1-1.
Oh my god, that's brutal.
That's why I was like, "All right, I need an infinite lives something. I wanna play the whole thing."
Are there any codes in the game, like like a Konami code type game things in the game? I'm not sure.
I don't think so. The only, like, secret thing that I came across that has a cheat code, was the credits.
Yeah.
So, the story goes that one of the main programmers had a, you know, tumultuous relationship with Sega,
Hmm.
and they didn't want to give credit to some of the developers. And I don't really, because they did have a credit scene, so I don't know exactly, maybe it was just the majority of the people that worked on it. But so the first screen that you see, I believe, it's like black background, and he puts black text on the black background, and there's a cheat code to like, I don't know if it makes the text white or if it makes the background white, but then you can see the names.
Hmm.
So, and he did not tell Sega that he was doing that, so it released with this like secret that you had to have a code just to see, who was working on the game.
And he was
Thought
promptly
that was kind of
sacked.
interesting. He actually quit, so he worked in Japan, and he quit, and he came to the US, and then he worked for Sega US.
Oh, no kidding.
Like, well, okie doke. Maybe we just had a different mentality of stuff over here or something. I don't know.
And yeah, that's common with older Japanese games, right? Is that there are no credits or the credits have fake names in them.
Really,
Yeah, right.
that's so weird.
It's a lot of them, and I think the theory is that they just didn't want other companies poaching their developers, so they're like, they can't poach them if they don't know who they are.
Ginger McDeveloper guy. Thanks for the
Yeah, I
help on
think
the
in the
game.
West it was more common to put your name on the product. So I wonder if I don't know.
I mean, it could have been, like I've been listening to, or like with all the history that I've been watching and stuff, with Atari when they sold the company to, can't remember the big corporation they sold to, but a lot of the kind of star developers got sick of everything and left and created Activision and stuff like that. So it's very possible that that kind of created this fear that our company could die out if we lose our stars. So yeah, I could see that being a viable thing.
Um, I know we're already through the news, but did you see that? Speaking of Atari, did you see that Atari VCS trailer that they showed the games?
I haven't. There's a new trailer.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. I quickly watched it. The Atari VCS is a weird thing because it's coming out this year theoretically. That they keep saying that. Like the same time as the new consoles, the PS5 and the Xbox 4. But this is like a weird console that plays old games and new games. And nobody seems to really know what the power of this thing is going to be. They're saying it's got a Ryzen processor and Radeon graphics and can do 4K HDR video. It's real sketchy, though. I mean, Atari these days is not a company that people trust. But one of the coolest things is just how Atari the box looks. But I think the thing's at around $400, which makes it kind of
Yeah,
a
it's
tough impulse
$399.
buy. And you can buy it with a wood grain front, which is amazing.
Yeah. It's got an Atari Vault featuring more than 100 home and arcade classics. Atari World, which is a Linux-based OS. Atari PC mode, install any OS. Let's see how that works out, licensing-wise. I mean, Ryzen and AMD is an affordable thing, but they don't say, like, exactly how powerful it is. It
Yeah, they
comes in
don't.
3 colors. Yeah.
I mean, the coolest thing about it is just the way it looks, like the hardware
Oh,
of it,
yeah.
to me.
It does look like a modern Atari, like, if you took the old Atari and kind of just like, "I want it to look like this, but a 2020 version of it." Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what it looks like.
Yeah, they nailed the industrial design of the thing for sure. Sorry to distract from Sonic. I want to give Sonic his due, like he deserves.
Yeah.
That red shoe tapping bastard. Yeah, you think if they made a new Sonic game, like if Sonic had come out in 2020, do you think it would hit the way it hit in the 90s, or do you think that his like kind of attitude, that era of like, I've got a bad attitude, so look at me, is over?
I mean, the movie was pretty good, at least after they adjusted all the graphics and everything, I thought. So his attitude, I think, is okay. But and they also what year was the Switch game? Was that like 2 years ago, a year ago?
Sonic Mania?
Yeah.
That was, geez, I want to say it's 3 years ago. Yeah. God, time flies.
2017, yeah, 3 years ago. That game was really well received.
It sure was.
So I imagine, as long as as long as they continue to kind of innovate, but also keep the nostalgia of everything, that it's going to be fine. It seems like a lot of the kind of weird, off the cuff kind of Sonic games that they've tried to make, a lot of them aren't that successful.
Yeah.
I was a fan of Sonic Spinball. I like pinball games, and I thought that was fun.
Same.
But
I like that game as well.
yeah.
And there have been some of the 3D Sonic games that I have enjoyed, like Sonic Colors and Sonic. Jeez, I forgot the other one.
But the GameCube ones?
No, it was on the Xbox 360. I bought it for my kids, but I ended up playing it with them and really enjoying it. But I can't remember it right off the top of my head. But there have been some real stinkers too, like the one where he turns into a werewolf.
That's you talk about Sonic 2006 or whatever?
I think that's a different one.
Oh, okay. I haven't played all those, to be honest.
No, me neither. There's been some dark years in Sonic's past, though. Like, he's got secrets, man. That dude can fill up an AA meeting. He can talk the entire time.
Have some kind of like almost like Batman Dark Knight type movie for Sonic.
Yeah.
He's this like, they go back into his past when he's like, we were trying all these new things and I was down on my luck and I spent all my money gambling with those hookers and
Yeah, I think at one point he had like a human girlfriend.
Well, is one of the things that I put on the notes here, actually, that originally he was supposed to have a human girlfriend named Madonna.
That seems like it could be a issue.
A cartoon. Well, I mean, Madonna's not a copywritten name, but she kind of was like blonde and attractive and fair skinned and stuff. So it's like, but they went away from that, probably for the better.
Yeah,
I think that's almost like they're trying to do like a Roger Rabbit type situation.
Oh, really? It was something like that.
I mean, the original concept for Sonic was often a rabbit. They went through a bunch of different concepts, and the rabbit was kind of the one that won out before the hedgehog. So possible.
There was some great information. Did you ever read Console Wars, the book that it kind of focuses on Sega more than Nintendo, but they talk a lot about the introduction and development of Sonic and like the first time the American team saw Sonic and how like they insisted that he was a hedgehog. Like they insisted on it. Like I guess the artwork that they were using in Sega Japan was just like it would not play with American audiences.
I haven't read Console Wars. You keep bringing it up, and I literally just need to buy it and start reading it. But was it the current actual like rendition of him, or was it a different one?
No, that's what Sega of America was lobbying for, the new edgier, the current one, which
Right.
they thought was the new edgy one. Whereas the one that they were using in Sega Japan, like as the default graphics, was not. It was like fluffy and it was ugly. They said, and like they're like, this is everything about the game is fantastic except this logo or this character is terrible.
I'm gonna see if I can find this so I can look at it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any pictures of it.
Maybe it's like what the movie looked like, where the dude's got like human teeth.
Oh my god! You gotta think somebody designed that original Sonic, or that from the movie. Somebody designed that, right, and said, "Yeah, I think this nails it."
Let's go with that. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
idea.
And then somebody else signed off on it.
And it was like in the movie. Yeah. But they definitely nailed the redraw for sure.
Yeah. And then Sonic kind of got cooler and cooler as the years went on. Well, up to a point, I guess. But like,
I mean, the original Sonic art, and I found this out. It's kind of using different inspirations for his body, right? His head actually, if you compare it, if you look at the doc that I sent, there's a couple of links there where the head is actually uh it's modeled after Felix the Cat, which Felix the Cat
really?
is pretty old cartoon, but if you click on that image and you kind of see the two together, like, okay, yeah, I could see that, like the big eyes and kind of the kind of slicked fur and stuff like that. It makes a lot of sense, and kind of the big smiling face. And then the body was kind of modeled after Mickey Mouse, kind of the lanky, kind of little pot-bellied type situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then the shoes were modeled after the Michael Jackson boots from the Bad era.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, the shoes are the thing that gives Sonic his speed. Without his shoes, he's a normal hedgehog.
What? That's true? Is that canon?
Yep. Yep. You didn't know that?
No. I had no idea.
It's in the movie too. Have you seen the movie yet?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
I want to. So is that why Dr. Robotnik is after him in the movie, is to get the shoes? It's got to be the shoes.
I'm trying to remember. Well, he had this in the movie. Robotnik was after him because his fur. He picked up like some spare fur, and he's like a scientist, and he's contracted by the government to find like a new source of energy. And he ends up finding like a piece of Sonic's fur, and it's like it just looks like a piece of fur, right? But he's like examining it, and then Sonic does one of his like big electronic explosions or something like that, and the little piece of fur like electrocutes, and he grabs like the energy reading from it, and it was like enough energy to like power the world for a year or something like that, just like a little tiny piece of hair. So he's like, "Oh my god!" Like, so he's going after Sonic to basically power the world and profit from it. So that's kind of his whole thing in the movie.
Seems like a pretty reasonable script.
I mean, renewable energy sources and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll just exploit blue hedgehogs. Solve all our needs. Global warming fixed. Is that it? Should we wrap it up?
I mean, there's a couple of other things that I thought were interesting.
Okay.
Real quick. So Sonic was the first video game character ever to have his own Macy's Day Parade float, like even ahead of Mario, which I thought was pretty crazy. Sonic's color was blue because it's meant to match the Sega logo, just for like marketing stuff. And Sonic, like, it sold 15 million copies, and it's the thing that probably put Genesis and the Master System on the map versus Nintendo. Without Sonic, like, maybe there wasn't even a console war.
Yeah, I feel like there's that people say that, but having lived through it, like Genesis was there and like killing it, right? It's like they were like all the Nintendo Genesis does what Nintendo adds were pre-Sonic.
Was it?
Yeah, like I mean, people say that about Sonic, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, but I don't have any numbers. I've never seen any like here's how many Genesis sold per year, before Sonic, and here's how many Genesis sold after Sonic. Like, I've never seen that number breakdown, so maybe it's true. But in my like headspace, like I don't remember it being true. Like, I don't remember the Genesis being like. I'm sure it sold a lot of Genesis. The game was great, but I don't remember it being like a night and day difference, like people kind of claim it is. Or, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, I can see it. Do you remember what some of the on that note? Do you remember what some of the games were that were like popular before Sonic?
I feel like I may be wrong on some of these. I know Golden Axe was a big one. Strider was a big one. Ghouls and Ghosts was a big one. A lot of arcade stuff. Like, that was kind of the Genesis bag, was the arcade stuff at home. What else was on there? Was Streets of Rage pre-Sonic? I'm not sure. I think it probably was. It's hard. I can't remember. Did Sonic come out in 91? It came out after the Nintendo Entertainment System, or Super Nintendo, right? So it must have come out after 92.
Let's go into the movie.
Because
91. So June 23rd. So it was like 5 months, 4 months, 3 months.
3 months before or after?
Before.
Okay.
That's
so I remember there being ads for Sonic where they were showing Super Mario Brothers for the Super Nintendo. Super Mario was that Super Mario Brothers World, right?
Super Mario World, yeah.
Yeah, so I know they were marketing Sonic directly against Mario at the time. And they were showing how slow Mario was and how cool Sonic was. Like, that was like their ad campaign. But I mean, so if 91 was when they released Sonic, that was 2 years of Genesis. And I know that Genesis had a significant lead before Nintendo came out, because it took Nintendo a number of years to catch up.
I mean, that makes sense considering that Genesis is like the 16-bit, you know, on similar part of like SNES. If it came out 2 years before the SNES, then that would make sense that Genesis, like, because they were the technology leaders at that point then.
Yeah. Yeah, and arguably the Genesis was a better machine than the Super Nintendo, depending on what you're arguing, which can go either way.
What are you arguing, Briar?
Well, the games were definitely faster. Like, I mean, that it was a joke. The marketing was a joke, but the games were definitely faster. There was less slowdown in Genesis games. Like, if you looked at something like Final Fight on the Super Nintendo, it was like everything was slow. Everything was kind of logy. It just felt like the SNES looked nicer because it had more colors, but everything moved slower on it. So it wasn't as good for like action-backed games. It was better at like kind of more like, I don't want to say cerebral games. Deeper games for sure. I feel like the depth of games was deeper on Super Nintendo as a whole. Like, you're more likely to find an arcade game, a fast arcade action game on Genesis, and more likely to find a deep role-playing game on Super Nintendo.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And both consoles were great, though. I mean,
yeah,
so many good games on both of those consoles.
Yeah. So, I heard you call it the SNES. And so last night I was talking about some retro stuff on stream. Actually, I could show you the stuff that I picked up this week real quick too in a minute. But people were triggered by the fact that I was saying SNES and NES. They're like, it's SNES. I'm like, I've called it the SNES all my life. I don't know.
Were these people European? You do stream at the middle of the night. And I think it's more popular to call it SNES in Europe, right?
Really? Well, actually, somebody from Scotland said SNES.
Well,
and I was like, well, okay, that makes sense.
Crazy. You should probably ban that person.
They're a mod. I don't know if that's going to work out. But I just thought it was interesting, like, that they were getting so triggered that I was saying SNES. Like,
I think that's an American thing, because I think we call it SNES. Other people call it SNES. I think Europeans called it SNES more.
SNES just sounds weird to me. I don't know. Like, maybe it's just me.
I think it just rolls off the tongue easier, SNES. It's less syllables.
It's bless you. Yeah, like, what?
Yeah, it's just easier to say.
SNES.
SNES. Super Nintendo. I don't know. Any way you call it, I still know what you're talking about, so it doesn't really bug me anyway.
Yeah.
But when you call it a Mega Drive, I really do want to punch you.
You say Omega Drive?
A Mega Drive. Mega Drive. Just Mega Drive.
Oh, is that what I did? I say Did I say
No, not
Mega
you.
Drive?
I mean anybody.
Okay.
Anybody.
As he looks into the camera. Listen.
Especially, I can't stand when people like call something the wrong name because they think it's cooler to call it that. And I don't mean like by a nickname. I mean like they're holding a Genesis in their hand and they'll refer to it as the Mega Drive. You know what I mean? Like that's not a Mega Drive though. If you're holding a Mega Drive and you call it a Mega Drive, I got no problem with you. You're a good person. You're okay in my book. But if you're holding a fucking Sega Genesis and you call it a Mega Drive, we got a problem. I'm gonna use my annual slap right here, right now.
Annual slap.
Yeah. You got it coming to you. Call it a Mega Drive.
Well, it's like how adults call everything Nintendo. You know?
Oh yeah.
It's not a
how
Nintendo,
people get
that's
triggered when they call Link Zelda, right?
That's just a meme now, though. It's just funny, like to trigger people with that.
It's true. But it does irritate. Like it irritates, right?
If
like,
somebody's genuinely clueless that it's Link, then yes, it's a little triggering. But if the person knows that it's Link and Zelda and they're saying Zelda, then it's funny to me.
Yeah, I can see that. But not the Mega Drive.
So, did you have any pickups this week or the last 2 weeks at all?
No, I'm pretty much saving all my money for the PS5 launch and the Xbox Series X launch, and possibly a GTX or an RTX 3090.
Oh, jeez. He wants to run everything on 6 4K monitors, and
it's true.
That's crazy.
I would like to do that.
So I go to the retro game store, I don't know, maybe every other month, and because I buy and sell stuff regularly, and they have this like cash list where they'll be like, okay, we'll give this much cash for these games and stuff. So I'll like see what I have, and I'll see. Usually those cash lists are like right where the market is. So I'm like, sure, it's way faster to just take it down there and get cash or credit on stuff. So I took a bunch of stuff down there and I got like way more credit than I thought I was going to, and ended up picking up a good chunk of games that I can just quickly go through. And I thought that they'd be kind of interesting talking points for like a minute. Let's start with these. Actually, I got on eBay. This was Narc. Did you ever play Narc?
So I actually often tell Tefty Teft on our other podcast that he is a narc because, well, for a lot of reasons, mainly because he's probably a cop. And so I bought a copy of that and I started texting him pictures of it. There's also, I didn't know this, but there's also an Xbox. The original Xbox had a game called Narc, which I didn't know about until I saw it in a store.
I think we talked about that like before we even started the podcast. I don't remember you talking about that. Yeah, because it's like the like cops or whatever with the glasses on the cover.
Yeah, it looks super lame. I haven't played it. Yeah, I own a copy because I wanted to send a picture of it to Tefty.
So you're saying I should message him and say, I heard that you like this game a lot.
You absolutely should do that. Yes, you should.
They're gonna all hate me. It's fine. So another one, and it just looks like a VHS tape, Total Recall.
Yeah. Boy, you picked up some real shitty games, man. Like, these are both terrible games.
What? Narc was great. I played this in the arcade all the time.
Oh, the arcade version was fun.
Oh, is this not like the arcade version?
I mean, it kind of is.
Oh,
if you took all the fun out of it.
Fortunately, these weren't that expensive, so it was like $20 and $30. So
I mean, they look cool in the box. The Narc, I would actually buy that Narc just for the box.
Yeah, it was
like the box.
It was like $30 for it, so it wasn't bad.
Complete inbox. It has the manual and everything.
Yeah, it does. Yep.
I would like to type my own manual up for that game.
Not as good as the arcade version.
Yeah. Like the arcade version without the fun.
Oh man, I don't know how much 64 stuff you played back in the day, but this is one of the games that it's kind of more obscure. I thought Rush 2049.
Yeah.
So it took the Rush racing franchise and kind of like threw it into space, literally. Like I remember, I think the most fun I had with this game, there was a stunt course
Oh,
where you could
really?
just like go off giant ramps and just do like 10 flips, and I don't know, I just love that kind of stuff.
The San Francisco Rush games were like you played a cop, right? And you were chasing down criminals?
Well, man,
Am I crazy?
I thought it was just like a racing game.
I might
But you
think
might be
maybe I'm
right.
thinking of a different game, but I thought it was. And it
Are you
might
thinking of
not.
Need for Speed?
No, they did Need for Speed Most Wanted, but that was much later. That was PlayStation.
Well,
Well,
the original
actually,
Need for Speed games, they were like running away from the cops and stuff like that too.
I think in San Francisco, I might be thinking of a different game, but I thought in San Francisco
You
Rush
might
you
be
played
right.
a cop in the arcade version, at least.
Okay, it's been a long time.
Yeah, the details are hazy because I'm not a narc.
Too many beers. Yeah. And then we were talking about Star Wars stuff last episode. So like at the game store, they had these, and they were like
Yeah.
$30 each. I was
Yeah,
like, heck yeah, Star Wars Pod Racer and Rogue Squadron. Heck yeah, I'll pick those up for $30
I
each.
just bought both of those games myself.
Really?
Yeah, like a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, something like that.
I
And
mean,
they're both super fun. I got all the Star
Yeah.
Wars games. I think, well, all the good Star Wars games for the Ultra 64. Speaking of the wrong name,
Ultra 64.
yeah,
I
got that. The Episode 1 Racer is a dope game. Actually, that's a really fun game.
Yeah.
And then Rogue One is a really fun game. Rogue 2 on GameCube, or was that on? I think it was GameCube, right? Rogue Squadron 2.
Rogue Squadron. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rogue Leader, I think is what it's called.
Is it Star Wars Rogue Squadron Rogue Leader? Because that's a crazy name. That's
Star
an
Wars
insane
Rogue
person name.
Leader.
But there was a Rogue Squadron too. I know there was. Did that come out on?
Rogue Squadron 2 for Japanese GameCube. That's what I'm seeing.
No,
And
it had to
also
have
a
come out.
3, Rebel Strike for Japanese GameCube.
I know it came out. I know it came out in the US for sure.
Hold on. That's probably Rogue Leader.
If they named it Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader,
I'm looking it up. Yeah, Star Wars Rogue Leader, Rogue Squadron 2. It's like the the subtitle.
That's awesome. Was it? So was that GameCube or was that?
Yeah, it's GameCube.
Okay, N64.
Yeah.
And then there was also Shadow of the Empire, which was
right.
I don't know. Some people don't like that game, but I think it's a pretty good game. And that was a launch title too.
Oh, I remember playing that a lot. Yeah, that was one of those games that I played on launch that was like, oh my god, 3D Star Wars. You know, like how can you go wrong with that?
Yeah,
I'll probably pick that up eventually.
They just Limited Run just put out those Star Wars Episode 1 racing games again. I bought it for the Switch actually.
Oh, nice.
I thought it'd be fun to replay that on a Switch. This is a fun game. It's a legitimately fun game based off a shitty movie, but a fun game.
They don't have like they need a new pod racer game.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I would play it.
Like a new one, like a newly developed one. I'm surprised they haven't yet.
Yeah, it's got that game has a real sense of speed to it. Like the controls, it feels like you're flying something else. It doesn't just feel like a kart racer. You know, it doesn't feel like a driving game. It feels like you're flying a different kind of thing, and it feels fun and fast. It's a good game. What else did you get?
I mean, on that same vein, like when was the last time an F-Zero game came out was
That's been a bit.
GameCube.
Yeah, that was GameCube too. And that wasn't even made by Nintendo. That was made by Sega, right?
Probably.
It's weird what Nintendo does with their older properties. They just kind of leave them to die sometimes.
Strange.
Yeah.
I have 3 more NES cart pickups.
Okay.
This one, I thought Trog.
I've never seen that game before.
So I thought that the NES port was actually the same as the arcade. So this is actually, if the arcade game It looks like a Bomberman field, and so you're taking these little cavemen around, and you have to like do stuff with eggs, and there's like little power ups and stuff, and you have to kill the dinosaurs and stuff. And in the arcade, it's like a 3D claymation kind of animation. Like it looks
Hmm.
really revolutionary for the time. But then I saw some video of the NES version, and it's just like it looks like 8-bit graphics, no like claymation stuff. So I was a
You
little
haven't played it
disappointed.
yet?
But I haven't. No, I just picked it up a couple of days ago.
Okay. Is it officially a licensed game?
I believe it's Acclaim.
Okay.
Made by Acclaim. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's officially licensed.
God, I've never even that art doesn't even look familiar. Like nothing
It's like
about
a
that.
$15 game. It's nothing crazy.
Do you have any idea when it came out?
I can look it up.
I wonder if it was like a late in life game for NES.
90, March of 90.
90, so pretty late.
Pretty late, yeah.
That's interesting.
And so I picked up a couple of like more expensive manuals too, which I won't show, but one of them was for this game, so I decided I'd just pick up the game too, Toxic Crusaders.
Oh God.
One of those kind of Are you saying oh my God because of the cover art?
Well, it says Toxic Crusaders and not Toxic Avenger, which is clearly like it's trying to be the Toxic Avenger, right?
Really? I haven't played it, but I will now.
That's crazy looking. Is that Sunsoft? Did I see the Sunsoft logo on the top of that?
Bandai.
Okay.
Yeah, just Bandai, not Namco
Is it
Bandai.
is it Toxic Avenger or Toxic Crusader? Now I don't even know. I gotta look it up. Toxic Avenger? Oh yeah. Yeah. The Toxic Avenger was this like weird like 80s B movie guy, and he had a bunch of movies. I think they even made a cartoon, but that's weird. They're like riffing off of a B movie.
So this looks like it's like a kind of more of like a Double Dragon beat 'em up style.
Okay.
But some of the boss fights kind of look Ninja Gaiden-esque. So it could be fun. And then the last one is one of the I try to every time I go there, I try to find like one like really rare, really good condition kind of like game for my collection.
Yeah.
And I've never heard of this. I mean, I had a few months ago, but I had like it's not ever anything that was ever on my radar. Dragon Fighter
Oh,
for
I've never heard
NES.
of that one either. Oh, I like the
It's
cover art though. That is 80s as fuck.
it's got the dragon in the background with the dude squatting with the sword in the ground.
That's a
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah. The dude with long hair. Look. Hold on. Once it focuses. All right.
Obviously I'm looking at a very small image, but his legs are so skinny. I just assumed that he was
They're muscular. They're toned.
I know
But
it's like I can see Red Sonja being in that pose, not Conan.
So it's developed by Sofel? Sofel? Sofel?
No, I think you said it right first time. Sofel.
Sofel?
Awful.
But it looks this was one of the games too where I looked it up. I don't even want to say how expensive it is, but it's in the top 10 most expensive games for the NES that were like North American released.
Oh, really? Is it just because it's
Yeah.
rare? Or is it actually a good game?
Most reviews that I saw were in the 6 to 7 range out of 10. It's apparently really difficult.
Yeah.
but
Like
it's a
abnormally for an
2D
NES game, or
I mean, yeah, probably.
Jesus.
It's just I think it's like Ninja Gaiden brutally hard kind of game.
Yeah.
But you're like this dragon fighter, and there's some similarity to like kind of Ninja Gaiden attacks and stuff. You have a sword and jumping around and stuff.
I was playing Ninja Gaiden the other night. I was watching Dexter and playing Ninja Gaiden at the same time.
The new like watching the old Dexter stuff?
Yeah.
Because they're coming out with like 10 extra episodes or something.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
I never watched the original series, so I'm kind of working my way through it.
I'm gonna not spoil you, but there was a point where I stopped watching.
Yeah.
For a reason. And you'll probably I think it was around like season 6 something.
Oof, that's deep in. That's like a
anymore.
lot of time.
Yeah.
Ouch. Well,
Yeah,
at
those
least
were
I was
my
enjoying Ninja Gaiden.
yeah, yeah. I picked up they had this whole bin of Game Gear games too that were half off, and I picked up like a bunch of stuff, the
Yeah,
cheaper things. Sonic the Hedgehog was actually one of them,
the first
so I
one.
picked up Sonic 1 and Sonic 2
Yeah,
and like Columns and stuff like kind of the like
Columns is a dope game.
$2 to $5 games. Yeah, I picked up a bunch of them.
I sunk a lot of hours into Columns when I was a kid. I liked
Yeah,
it quite a bit.
Super Columns.
I don't remember. I don't know what the difference is. I only know that it was Columns on the Game Gear.
Yeah, there's two of them, Columns and
Yeah,
Super Columns. I don't know the difference,
I don't
but I know
either.
that there's two.
I don't even know which one I had. Did you have you ever played Shinobi for Game Gear?
I haven't, but I know that it's way different than
The
or I'm thinking
16-bit?
of Ninja Gaiden, actually. That's the
Oh,
one
that
that's
I have that game
different.
actually, Ninja Gaiden on the Game Gear, and that game is good actually. I like it.
It's
It's hard though.
yeah, we talked about it whatever a month ago. It's actually different like game that they ported and made it sound like Ninja Gaiden, but it was
Yeah,
actually a different
it
game.
wasn't
It's
even.
just funny.
Yeah, they did that a lot back in the day. They were playing it fast and loose with the licenses back in the day. They're like, these kids don't know shit
Throw our
anyway.
name on it. Who
Yeah,
cares?
whatever. These kids
Nobody's
don't
gonna
buy
know.
anything.
I haven't really played many of the Shinobi games. I do own a couple of them, so
Yeah.
I should definitely
I think the
try it out.
16-bit ones are all good. There's a really weird one for the Sega Saturn. It's fucking bizarre because it's in that era when they were using live people for the graphics. What's that called when they just take pictures of people doing the
Oh.
moves? Like Mortal Kombat, the old Mortal Kombat.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I can't remember what they call that specifically, but it's one of those. So you're actually playing like a dude dressed up like a ninja, and it just ruins the experience. And there's cutscenes, there's video cutscenes that are as low budget as you could hope for.
Looking
This
like Night
ninja,
Trap in there.
oh man, this dude is being a fucking 90s ninja.
Like Big Trouble in Little China vibes.
A little bit, yeah, you could definitely compare it.
Is it called Shinobi Legions?
It is, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
It is. It's worth playing. It's not, I wouldn't call it good, but it's definitely worth playing.
That's the experience.
It is.
It's an
The
awful game,
cutscenes
but you
alone,
play it.
man.
Yeah.
Like that era of game where they were using a lot of full motion video and they were like using actors and stuff but they had like super low budgets. They couldn't afford like good acting. It's really a marvelous moment in time for video games because you just get some weird stuff in there.
Well, and it was like the video game movies too that were such a cash grab when you talk about like the Mario Brothers movie and Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat and Street Fighter. Like they were not good movies, but as kids, I remember absolutely loving them because they were like, big screen versions of the games that I love.
I think I like them better now than when they were new. Like now I could see them as what they are, is like these batshit crazy fever dreams.
I mean, the
Super
Mortal
Mario
Kombat movie
is
was
terrible, but my God, it's entertaining to watch now.
yeah. I heard stories that they were pretty much drunk every day on set.
Shithoused. Yeah. Completely shithoused.
They had no idea what they were making. Yeah.
Right. They knew they were making a shitty movie, so they just said, fuck it.
That's
I guess
hilarious.
that it was two directors. They were like a brother and a sister or something that were making that movie. And they were just so crazy that the cast could stand them. And they would like change their mind like on a minute to minute basis. And they would disagree with each other. So it was terrible. It was a terrible experience for all involved. So the John Leguizamo and who was Mario? What was his name?
I don't remember.
He was in Roger Rabbit as well. I can't remember his
Yeah.
name, but the two of them were just drunk off their asses. Not a little bit drunk, like really, really drunk for a lot of that movie. The stories that have come out of that about the making of that movie are priceless.
They need to do the movies that made us, Mario Brothers. Like, have you watched that series at all?
No.
It's so good. They do like Dirty Dancing and Ghostbusters, and it's like the toys that made us, but for movies.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to
So,
see that.
yeah, it's on Netflix. It's pretty cool.
It's been fun. It seems like there's been this kind of like nostalgic revival over the last couple of years, like with stuff like the Toys That Made Us and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's been fun to see that stuff come. With Netflix, it sounds like they'll just buy anything. You can make anything, and then Netflix is like, yeah, we'll take it.
I mean, but those series are good.
No, I'm not saying they're not, but you never would have seen them on network television, right?
Right. Yeah.
I'm not trying to cast dispersion on the people who made them. I'm just saying that there's a wider audience, and there's there's more places to put that kind of stuff now. And it's great because now no matter what you're into, there's something for you on the internet. Unfortunately, sometimes.
No matter what you're into, it's like it's like a movie trailer. The internet, the movie, the internet.
Is that it? Anything else? Did you pick up anything else?
I mean, just the Game Gear games, and trying to think if there was anything else.
Well, I like this. We're gonna have to make this a thing because I'm kind of enjoying just like going through your stuff.
I actually got a Super Scope in the box, like pristine, but it's in the other room. And then like some like I have a thing for cardboard, and I've been getting into system cardboard. So like I picked up a couple of like NES and Super Nintendo pristine boxes with all the inserts and everything. Literally no system in it, just boxes.
Yeah,
but they'll be nice once I get the office in order to like put on the shelf and stuff. It's just cool.
Who kept that stuff?
Not me.
Yeah, not me either.
My parents were kind of minimalists, so I wasn't allowed to keep any of the packaging. And if I wanted to get a new system, I had to sell all the old stuff.
Yeah. I had to sell all the old stuff to afford the new stuff. Like that's just how. If you want the new stuff, you gotta sell out the old stuff. Yeah. Like I always say it. Like I regret selling that stuff, but at the same time, I don't regret it because if I didn't sell it, I wouldn't have got to play like the next stuff.
Right.
Like I wouldn't have played any of the PlayStation stuff if I didn't sell off my Super Nintendo stuff.
Yeah, and who would have thought that video games and the industry would have been worth like as much as it is now?
Yeah.
Like, Mom, we have to keep this box. It's going to be worth thousands of dollars in the future. Sure, son. Yeah.
Yeah, but they were the same people who had thrown away all their baseball cards.
Right.
And then spent a lifetime regretting it, So,
right.
Fuck them. My kids don't throw away shit. When they're done with it, I just pack it away. This will be worth money. I don't know. Are we done? Is that an episode? Is that number 4?
Can talk about what we're gonna cover next episode, maybe. Toss around some ideas.
Well, we realized before we did this show that we kind of fucked up the Halloween thing, so that's out. And then we were thinking Thanksgiving, but there's not like a great theme for Thanksgiving, is there?
There's got to be like Discovery games, but there's a North versus South NES game, but it's really kind of convoluted.
Yeah. I don't know. So I guess it's up to us. Maybe we could do a TurboGrafx game because we talked a bunch about the TurboGrafx today. But do you have a way to play it?
I mean, I'd have to emulate.
Yeah. I don't know. Why don't we talk about it? We'll talk about it on Twitter, and maybe people can join in the conversation. Talk about what we'll play for next week. Because I like having a game to play, like and a reason to play it, because we're going to talk about it. To me, it's a lot of fun. Hopefully the listeners enjoy that as well. So, JSniperton, where can people find you?
I am JSniperton. I go by Jay. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at JSniperton. And I'm taking the next week off of streaming to prepare for like the next couple of months of gaming and stuff. But generally, I stream in god awful hours in the middle of the night in the US.
I saw you mention this on Twitter. Are you starting that like today? No stream tonight?
So last night was the last stream until next Monday. Yeah.
Just taking like a mental refresh?
Well, it's partly that. And then also there's some stuff around the house that needs to get taken care of before. Because I'm basically trying to do like a big push where I've never really done both Twitch and YouTube full time. And I'm going to try to do that the next 2 months and really like put out a bunch of fresh content that's unique that people haven't seen yet and stuff and do some fun things with the stream that I haven't been able to do this year, and just a bunch of ideas that I want to put out there. So we'll see what happens.
It's gonna be a big time for Destiny. With
yeah,
I mean, did you watch the vid doc today?
I did, like right before right before this podcast.
Yeah. Do you call it vid doc or vidoc?
So I literally, there was this whole like hour-long argument we had last night where apparently it's not video documentary, it's like visual information documentary or something like that, but that's still information. So I say vid doc.
Yeah.
But everybody was on my ass about it and says it's vidoc, it's not vid doc. But I was like,
yeah.
And their argument for it was when a word is shortened and like like an acronym form or like a shortened kind of short form, it can have a different pronunciation.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so then that means that you say GIF, right?
Yeah.
Because most argument for GIF is graphical interchange format. So I was like, you can't have it both ways. You can't say vidoc and GIF because they counterintuitive. That was my argument.
So which one do you say, GIF or GIF?
I say GIF, but I also say vidoc. So I'm kind of
God, what the
myself.
fuck? You're like confusing my head. It hurts.
People were like, he's saying vid doc. I was like, no, just one D. Vid doc.
Vid doc.
You're on the same.
Sounds weird.
It does.
Crayon.
You say it enough times, it just loses all meaning anyway. So
yeah. I'm Briar Rabbit. You can find me. I actually just put out a video on my YouTube channel about gaming, whether or not to buy a 4K 120 hertz TV for the next generation of consoles. We got more stuff coming your way on the YouTube channel, and we're streaming Ghost of Tsushima: The Raid. So they actually got a raid coming for Ghost of Tsushima on Friday, and we'll be streaming that. So that's something to look forward to. Thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you for watching the RetroSlot podcast. Oh, JSniperton, I just learned something about our logo that was brand new. Do you know how there's like, it's got red, yellow, and white?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why those three colors were selected in the logo?
I do not.
RCA cables, red, yellow, and white. Like the video cable is yellow,
and
the red and the white
sense.
are stereo. Then the logo just got cooler, didn't it?
Oh my god! And the wires going into well, she is next level.
Yeah, Ash, thank you. We find new stuff to enjoy in this logo every day. All right, that's gonna do it for the show. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.